I was supposed to, almost every one of you who I've spoken to has reminded me that I was supposed to talk at 10:45 Monday morning. Uh, I feel a little bad about what I'm about to say about Matt, given what he just said about me, but I'll charge forward. When I called Matt on, or when I texted Matt on Sunday, and I asked him to change my Monday speaking spot, a little rude, I admit. He quickly agreed, but he also quietly changed me to this speaking spot, which I think is probably the second most difficult speaking spot at a conference. And I would say Matt also hasn't changed too much. He's developed on his hero's journey in some ways, but he is very much authentic to who he always has been. um, I sort of came into the Hero Roundtable world through camp, which I'm sure those of you who didn't go there are tired of hearing about. But if you can imagine, it was sort of a world that Matt created that had the same culture that this world does. It was a world of support and love. And I came in, I think, a pretty insecure, definitely pimply, skinnier little kid, and had no idea of who I was or where I was going. And it was really the environment of camp that sort of allowed me to flourish and begin the journey of figuring out who I really am. And of course, I'm still on that journey. But it was Matt himself, I think, who saw something good in me that I probably didn't see myself, and I suppose he still does. And that really did begin the journey of unfolding into my own authenticity, the self that I am becoming. So thank you, Matt, for that. In the sort of horse trading over when I would speak, Matt did mention that some people like sit down, they hear the first couple of speeches, and they totally scrap what they were going to write. So that's actually what I did. It worked out. I I came into this conference with a pretty heavy heart. I've been in news almost my whole career, and I've been on the front lines of some pretty terrible things. And overall, I've gotten like pretty callous about seeing bad things, and it just not. I've had bullets fly at me, and I'm like fine. I'm like, as long as I don't get hit, I'm fine. I've never been hit. I just like have really cold blood. But I was with my family here in Michigan over the weekend, and my sister just had a baby, and I was with I have 5 sisters. I was with my mom. And what was happening, and I'm not about to go political here at all, but what was happening in Israel, I think we can all agree, is horrible. Really, really, it's evil. It's the kind of evil that heroes are born to fight. And it was infants being executed and women being raped, and just really horrible. And I lived there for 3 years, and I have loved ones there, and I fear for their lives. But I also just fear for where we're going overall. It seems like we're slouching towards some sort of irreversible calamity, and that the best lack all conviction and the worst are filled with passionate intensity, to use a line from Yeats. And so I've actually was sort of on the verge of tears a little bit yesterday. And I'm on the panel order. I was saying that the only way I can ever cry is when I write. And I did that last night. But I definitely started to feel a lot better as I sort of focused on some of the speeches that I heard over the last few days. And that's why I sort of decided to rewrite my speech a little bit. I was just reminded that while there are good people on this earth who are determined to be heroes in their everyday life, that there is hope. And looking at what happened over the weekend, I think part of what was really frustrating for me is, I'm old enough that I was alive when 9/11 happened, and I was like in high school, and I remember like just right away like I want to do something, right? I want to do something, but I couldn't do anything. I was in high school, and now there's something that struck me in a similar way, and it's like I've been working on this for 20 years, and I still don't really have anything I can do. So there's like a little bit of shame along with like paralysis. And that just made me a little less like feeling like I'm qualified to come up here and tell everyone about how to have a great hero's journey, because I'm not really sure where I am on that. So I do want to talk about some of the slivers of hope that I got from some of the speeches that I heard so far the last couple of days. And hopefully you can feel a little bit of the cheer that I feel. That's kind of going to let me leave here a little bit more inspired than the way I came in. So, of course, number one is just the power of the individual. So right before I met Matt and went to camp, I backpacked Europe, and this was like sort of pre-internet, and I took this photograph of the Berlin Wall. And it said in German, it was like a crumbling part of the Berlin Wall, many small people doing many small things can change the face of the earth. And for quite a while, I sort of made this my personal mantra. I would put it up like at the desks that I worked, I would put it in my wallet. But as sort of the pressures of just like taking care of myself in this vicious capitalist country, the pressures of just like living took over, I sort of forgot about that mission. But I do remember every year that I came to the Hero Roundtable, that sort of like surged back for me in my head and my heart. And to me, that whole idea is just, what do? You don't, we wish that we were like slaying dragons, right? Like in the great myths, right? We wish that we were in a cinematic masterpiece on the way to Mordor with Frodo, right? But it turns out that in our own heroes' journeys, heroic actions are often a lot more mundane, right? It can look like changing a diaper for some of us, or it can look like putting on a conference like this, which I can guarantee you is 90% tedious. And this is like the fun part right now, right? It can look like running a brick and mortar coffee shop, even when you find out later on that might not have been the best thing to do. In my life, like Leonard Cohen has this line in one of his songs. He's like, I have demons too. They're middle class and lame. And like I don't want to fight like little demons like that. I want to be like slaying dragons. But that's just like not how it works. And like one example of my little life is just like toxic culture at work. People who are not appreciated the way they should be, the humanity's not there, and you're like, somebody should do something about that. And then you're like, oh yeah, like that's like not only am I already here, but I'm like actually one of the people who's like kind of in charge here. Like why didn't I, this is a thought I had yesterday, I forget who was talking about that. It could be as small as complimenting your colleagues, right? Or like you said, celebrating a birthday or organizing a lunch together. But we are the people who need to make the change we see. And I do think that that there's just compound impact on this thing, right? First you change yourself, and then you change a couple of people around you who you might even just be stuck with, and then you just go from there. And on the reverse side of that, I think evil metastasizes in the same way that good compounds. And the kind of evil that we see, like what happened over the weekend, it actually starts with a lot of people doing a lot of small things, right? Or people doing things they shouldn't be doing, or not doing the things they should be doing. So you really are fighting evil, even when you're laying in bed and you're like, I can look up, I'm gonna get up and like run my day, right? Like that is the very, very beginning of it. And I think if you can contextualize that a little bit, even every now and then in your life, you'll find yourself a lot more inspired to see your daily quest as part of your hero's journey. The next thing I wanted to talk about was, and this is actually what my main speech was going to be about, but the power of transcendence in the hero's journey. I grew up in sort of a complicated religious environment in Flint, Michigan, and there was like some cults involved and some strange stuff. And so I had sort of like a weird relationship with religion, and I feel like a lot of people are sort of like that right now. But if you look at the hero's journey, whether it's the heroes in the Bible or whether it's mythical heroes, you see that their call to adventure, in Joseph Campbell's terms, are often accompanied by sort of a transcendent moment where they see where it is that they're supposed to go and what they're supposed to be doing to answer that call. So like Moses at the burning bush, right? He gets like, let my people go. It's like literally a bush magically on fire. Some people think there was like LSD coming out of that bush or something. Could be. That was a call that led the children of Israel into the promised land. And it was a call that, if you look at how that story was used in American history, it was a call that in many ways led to the end of American slavery as we knew it. You can look at Lord of the Rings again. You've got like Frodo getting the ring from Gandalf, and the dark vision of what will happen if someone doesn't stand up and fight the impending evil. You have Harry Potter receiving the magical letter from a magical owl and realizing that the magic that's within him is not just him, that it's real. So I just want to encourage people, I think that in order for you to live heroically, you need to be able to lift your head up, even just metaphorically. You don't have to believe anything. Lift your head up to heaven and imagine, God, the idea like God is good. You don't have to believe in God. God is a representation of what good is. But lift your head up and think about what could be the very best for me. What could be the very best for the people around me? The things that I can touch, what could be the very best? And I think if you start doing that, and that can be meditation, it can be surfing, it can be yoga, it can be nature, it can be ecstatic dance. If you start doing that, you'll be well on your way into your hero's journey. So finally, and I'm probably out of time because I feel like time flies when you're up here. One other thing I sort of picked up from a few of you was just the importance of cultivating quiet in your lives. And having worked in the news business for 15 years, I was one of the people making a lot of the garbage that a lot of you and me are consuming on a day-to-day basis. And I am telling you that 90% of what is considered news now is not useful to you or to your life. It's not, we sort of like lie to ourselves and say, hey, at least I'm informed, I'm educating self. You do not need it. And yesterday, one of the speakers said, if you look at your phone and you're staring at these apps for more than 2 hours, it's too much. You are not going to hear your call to adventure. You are not going to be aware enough to respond to the needs around you if your head is buried in your phone 24 hours a day. And I went down a pretty dark rabbit hole with all this news, and that's part of what put me sort of in the dark mood. And I'm just telling you, if you want to be on a hero's journey, that's just a habit you probably need to cut. So those are three sort of takeaways that I think I will be meditating on as I leave here. And I thank all of you for all the insights you brought and for making this such a special place. I want to just pause for a second for a quick moment of silence and just look around, everyone. Look at your neighbor. Love your neighbor. This is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful space. And at the end of all of our exploring is to arrive where we started and know the place for the very first time. Thank you.